Hello everybody, we are Mono8 and we are here to present to you on our topic, which is on user emotions and interaction design. Do you know interaction design affects our emotions? Here is one example. Imagine yourself playing Pokemon and you encountered a wild Pikachu. So you decide to capture it by using a Pokeball. Finally, you succeeded in catching Pikachu. Congratulations! Woohoo! As a user, you feel happy about it. This is called affective computing. It is computing that deliberately influences emotions. So, there are actually two components to affective computing. One of them is called designing expressive interfaces, while the other is anthropomorphism. So, what are expressive interfaces? Expressive interfaces are used to make the look and feel of an interface appealing. So, one example is color. Color expresses emotions in different ways. For example, red refers to excitement, while blue refers to a more of a calm environment. Secondly, will be dynamic icons. They are usually expressed in the form of called out, pins, or bubbles that mix text with images. Lastly, is graphical animations, such as a plane flying across your computer screen. Expressive interfaces enhances the look and feel of an interface. Hence, users are likely to be more tolerant of its usability, and at the same time, it reassures the user that it can be both informative and fun. Another benefit is it can convey emotional connotations by eliciting certain kinds of emotional response in users, such as feeling at ease, comfort, and happiness. However, if expressive interfaces are done incorrectly, it results in user frustration. One example is the Lucky Draw Winner banner, where users are presented with a gimmicky display. This leads to a mild level of frustration because their expectations are not met. Another example will be overburdening the user with expressive interfaces. For instance, a user is required to carry out excessive tasks when installing a software. It's alright when a user is presented with just one task, but as more and more and more and more tasks start to appear, this leads to a level of frustration ranging from medium to high. The last example is bad error messages. It usually occurs when a system or application crashes. So in this case, a user is presented with a blue screen error, leaving the user in a state of confusion because he's unsure of what to do next. This leads to the highest level of frustration to the user.
Now let's talk about the second component of affective computing, anthropomorphism. It is the attribution of human form or other characteristics to anything other than a human being. Now let's look at some examples.
The paperclip in Microsoft PowerPoint Clippy. He acts as your personal assistant and provides you help every now and then.
Another is virtual pets, such as the famous Facebook game Pet Society, where users can breed their own virtual pet with real animal needs in a virtual world. So, what benefits does anthropomorphism bring about? Interactive systems with personalities and other human-like attributes makes them more enjoyable and fun to interact with. It also motivates people to carry out such as the task more strongly than if they are presented in a cold and abstract manner. Similar to expressive interfaces, if it is done incorrectly, it can lead to negative emotions. Software bots out there which pretends to be conversant human beings can lead users into a false sense of belief. Once the user realizes that they were all along just communicating to a bot pretending to be a human, they will be very annoyed about it. Another point is, if users discover that the system is unable to converse or possess real human qualities such as being sincere, users will slowly be disillusioned and subsequently distrusted. So, now you know how interaction design affects our emotion. The question is, how do we create a good interactive system? To answer that question, the emotional design model was created to serve as a guideline. This model was created by Donald Norman, Andrew Ortony, and William Revel to understand how our minds process our sensory inputs. Our sensory input is our 5 senses: hearing, sight, smell, taste, and touch. It translates to the motor, which is our actions and reactions. This translation from sensory to motor is defined by 3 levels, namely visceral, behavioral, and reflective. At the bottommost level of the hierarchy, visceral is basically our gut reaction. It is not based on reasoning. Instead, it is based on texture, sound, and look and feel. For example, if you were asked to choose a car between the two, which one would you choose? I believe most of you would have chosen the Chevrolet instead of the Toyota, simply because it looks better. In the middle level, behavioral means the way you interact with the design. As such, it can vary among individuals, as different users interact differently. To quote an example, some of us prefer to drive a manual car, while others may prefer auto transmission cars. At the top of the hierarchy, reflective is what means to us. It is influenced by nostalgia and past memories. We bring back the example from the past, where you were asked to choose one of the 2 cars. Suppose you had driven a Chevrolet for the past 10 years, and now the same question is asked: the Chevrolet or the latest model of the Lamborghini Diablo? If you had chosen the Chevrolet, that means that your choice had been influenced by the reflective level. Indeed, the reason why reflective sits on top of the other layers is because it may, at times, override the other levels, as exemplified in the example. Another guideline to designing good interactive systems, or otherwise described as pleasurable products, is the pleasure model proposed by Lionel Tiger. The pleasure model consists of 4 categories: physio pleasure, social pleasure, ideal pleasure, and psycho-pleasure. Let me begin with physio pleasure. It comes from our sensory organs. For example, when we listen to music, we can derive pleasure from it. When we buy a new iPhone, the smooth aluminium body feels pleasurable in our hands. In a similar fashion, we can also derive pleasure when we eat something tasty, when we smell something nice, or look at something aesthetically pleasing. Moving on, social pleasure is all about social interaction. This is evident in popular social media website Facebook, when people often find pleasure in socializing and making new friends. Another example is when a person feels left out in a group, and after some interaction, he finally fits in. He derives social pleasure when he feels the sense of belonging within the group. Following the social pleasure is the ideal pleasure. Ideal pleasure pertains to our beliefs and attitude. In this case, one would derive ideal pleasure by having his own fashion style. When he goes out to the public dressed in this fashion, he will have a good sense of satisfaction. Last but not least, psycho-pleasure is about cognitive demands and emotional reactions. An easy-to-use device will fall under this category. For instance, let's talk about someone who has never interacted with an iPad before. After using, he realizes that the iPad is easy to use. After he successfully mastered using the iPad, he will derive the psycho-pleasure. Another scenario will be a player completing the Rubik's Cube. He will have a sense of achievement through cognition by solving a tough puzzle. Well, we have come to the end of this video. We hope you have learned the subject on user emotions and interaction design. Let us end off with a quote by Donald Norman. Beauty and brains, pleasure and usability, they should go hand in hand. Thank you!